link and share it.
Gotcha. Just go over to YouTube on your
Mm-hmm.
guys' live tab there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
man, I got into it last night in a. Oh, never mind. I don't even know if I want to go into that subject.
Yeah, let's
It's
not
been a,
be controversial enough already as it is.
okay.
What
Well, I
happened?
might. I make
All
no
right, so
promises.
Now I'm
uh,
curious.
uh, go ahead and start recording the audio, senor.
Okay, record to the cloud.
All right, three, two, one, let's go.
Good evening, Endless Ranters. Welcome back for episode 219 of your Endless Ranters podcast. We do what we want and we appreciate your support. My name is Chris. I've been calling things I don't like a commie for 50 years. 50 years. I've been proven right. I'm also one of your hosts for this evening. We're joined by some special hosts because we have a special episode full of love and toxic masculinity. We got the two grumpy bastards here, Coop and Russ, Russ and Coop. They're joining us. We've been kicking around an idea to do a podcast that focuses on men, needs,
Chris is into men.
men's needs. I was saying no, and what we want to talk about when Quana's away because Quana's celebrating her man's birthday this week, so she's not
So
here
many
with us.
sandwiches are being made.
Yeah, yeah, it's a sandwich fest. Sandwich
Oh,
fest for. But then there's so we got Coop and Russ here from the Two Grumpy Bastards once again, their podcast. You check it out wherever you find awesome podcasts. And then there's producer Manny. What's going down, old man?
Chilling.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was
Thank you
going
for
to say
that.
something much more like profound or poignant, but
You never
no, it
know.
just
You never know. You never know
yeah,
what's going to come out. So
you really
yeah, we're
don't.
here tonight. We're here to talk about masculinity, toxic masculinity. We're here to talk about whatever we want to talk about. So
Hmm.
we were just kind of getting into comics, right? We're getting into comics. We're talking
Comedians.
about you guys. Coop and Russ like to watch Kill Tony. Mole Man, do you watch Kill Tony?
I've seen clips here and there, but I can't say I've
Hmm.
committed to an entire episode.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the clips. I don't watch it regularly, but I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if I do someday. But we were just talking about like Shane Gillis and the Adam Ray episode, and
Hmm.
I'm glad to see Shane Gillis doing well because he's a dude, bro. He's the dude, bro. Like he tells the same joke, like jokes about the same stuff that we would probably,
And he also
and
highlights the special needs community as well, like Kill Tony does,
yeah,
like
but I
Tony
like
Hinchcliffe
he
does.
loves those guys. Well, it's his brother. He's got a brother that's got
Yeah.
Down syndrome, maybe. Okay.
Hmm.
But welcome, Coop and Russ. I'll stop talking so you guys can say something.
You really want us to talk?
And I
That's why we
appreciate
had
your
you
input.
on, man.
I appreciate your input. Let's get back to me. No. Uh, thanks for joining us. You guys just released the new episode last night.
Yep.
yes.
Last night or this morning. What were the highlights? What were the highlights? What were you guys go? I usually listen to your show on Fridays, but this week I was a little bit busy. So,
Coop was torturing me with Macklemore. That should tell you all you need to
oh
know.
yeah.
All you need to
Oh
know.
Yeah.
man.
God, I hate that guy. Yeah. Living up here in the Pacific Northwest, a big chunk of my life and being a native, they worship the ground he walked. And like, this guy sucks. He's like House of Pain, only worse and gay.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I thought
Is
of him.
he?
I don't know, but I
I think
don't
he's
care.
like a rapper. Like for some reason when I hear Macklemore, I also think of Imagine Dragons, and I think like was Macklemore the lead singer for Imagine Dragons? Because it just seems like very
Nah.
Mm-mm.
both of them are
No.
just like if you were just like AI, make me a white rapping kind of pop guy, they'd be like, here you go, and it'd be Macklemore. Or if you asked AI to make pop music, it would just be Imagine Dragons.
One of the
I
most
also kind of
boring
like
bands
Imagine
out there.
Dragons.
We did do a reaction to the new Tom McDonald single. We did play that entire video and do a critique of the new Tom McDonald single, which is quite
Okay.
amazing. I hadn't heard it before. That was my first time Russ brought it up. We talked a lot about tariffs, a lot about how Democrats are still fucking self-immolating, regardless of what's going on right now, and all these little holes that they're trying to poke in the canoe. They're
Hmm.
still as stupid as it fucking gets, and they're still just doubling down on the far left. So we talked about a lot of
And
things.
I got to. He probably hasn't watched it yet because he hasn't had time. But I got to introduce Coop to a new movie he had for some reason never heard of. Um, it was a sequel to a movie that he said he loved. It was Monsters University. He still needs to. When I told him
Oh, you
the
haven't seen the second one?
I'm not.
When I told them
You
all
weren't
the
even
folks that were
aware of
in
it?
that, from Nathan Fillion to the girl who played Julia on Newhart, that he's gotta go over there and watch that.
Oh man,
Alfred
Newhart.
Molina, Helen Mirren,
Are you talking about the blonde girl from Newhart, the Newhart show, where they?
yeah,
Uh,
the blonde heiress, kind of airheady
oh, that's
girl.
right.
She
Yeah,
played she
yeah.
played
Okay,
Squishy's mom.
okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that I love that show, Newhart. That was a great show. But
It
I
was
feel
so,
bad. I'm the only one not wearing glasses. I just got some new glasses because Lucy ate mine. What do you think, guys?
oh, they
I'm
look
expecting you
pretty.
to tap those twice so you can see the inside of the shield bunker.
For real, dude.
I know they look tactical for some reason.
They
Well,
are
they are
Oakleys.
Oakleys.
They are Oakleys.
Enhance. Enhance.
So we hadn't seen Monsters University. So yeah, one thing about your guys' show is like Russ has not seen a lot of movies, and it's
Because Russ is not a
I
culture
don't know.
warrior when it comes to that
Some
kind
of
of
them
stuff.
are like
I'm not yet.
some of them are pretty popular movies though. Like I'm not sure like
Like
where
what?
were you? Like where were you in like the late 2000s? Like come on.
Well,
Having
Yeah.
children and deploying to Iraq.
he was,
Okay.
and a lot of times it was like, "Hey, there's this new movie came out." And
That checks out.
Russ goes, "I'm dipping my corn dogs into my Kool-Aid."
But
No,
you missed
He's
some
busy
one. I
right
can't
now.
remember what they're called, but you missed some ones from like that were big. I'm like that now where like it takes a lot for me to if you're gonna get me to sit down for 2 hours to watch a movie, oh, you
It better be
better
worth it.
yeah, it better be the trailers better be have been awesome to get me to commit to that. So yeah. There's a
the
lot
only
of
movie
popular
that I've
music coming
gone
out
to
now I
in the
just don't
last
watch.
year that I wanted to go to was Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't even seen those. Like I saw the first two Deadpools, I guess.
You haven't seen that one? Oh,
The
dude,
last one, no.
you're
Yeah, you
missing
got to
out.
get to that one. It's funny. Like number two, the cameos alone make it worth it.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Especially
guess
Because
when
surprise
did it come
cameo
out
that you
yet?
think is one thing and changes.
Yeah, that was my
I,
favorite. That was my
yeah, that was a
favorite.
great little sleight of hand that they pulled there.
Yep.
That was my
Where does that
favorite.
come out? Is it on HBO Max yet or something like that? Or Disney, I
Yeah.
guess? Would
I think
Yeah,
be
it's
it
on
is.
Disney.
Disney.
It is
Disney
Oh,
Disney.
Plus.
really?
It's on Disney.
Hmm.
Yeah, that stuff just goes right by me. Even if I like the first one and I'm just like, I can't wait till the next one comes out. If it's like 3 or 4 or 5 years, I'm just like, ah, you waited too long. You waited too long for the sequel.
Well,
Now I forget what if I even cared about it.
well, we get that with TV shows now. I mean, now it goes like 2 years in between seasons. I remember pulling my hair out for 3 months waiting for the continuation of Star Trek Best of Both Worlds.
Oh,
Well, it's
Star
because
Trek,
shows
the what?
they've gotten so
The
bloated.
next generation, the Best of Both Worlds with the Borg, when they ended the season with Riker saying, "Mr. Worf, fire," and then you had to wait like 3.5 months to find out what the heck
Okay.
happened.
You know what? I don't know. I enjoyed Star Trek. I watched Star Trek Next Generation. I know there's a lot of people that watched Star Trek Next Generation that like remember all the episodes
That would be me.
and like yeah, I just watched it. I mean, I watched all of them, but I didn't they were like entertaining. I thought they're really interesting, like just very interesting, like
Hey, come on.
visiting
The best of both worlds part one and two were like, you know, those were foundational society breaking episodes.
I guess. I don't know if I think maybe by the time I was watching Star Trek and that I was already kind of I don't know. I guess I'm just saying they didn't really like watch them all. They didn't really sink in my memory as much, but I do remember enjoying them all very much and
We
enjoying the
get it.
themes of it. Not I wasn't like missing the themes of it, but I don't know.
You're more of a Babylon 5 guy, Chris. We get it.
Hey,
Well,
don't
and
knock
that's
Babylon
like they
5. I
had
love that
like
one too.
to get a little toxic that in Next Generation they would have like kind of hot women in the show, but then they'd give them like a freaking like nose like a weird like a nose plate or something, but they give them like ridges in their head.
Right.
So
Big
it's like, come
breasts.
on, I'm here. I need to there needs to be some attractive women in the show,
Do you remember?
and
Do you remember?
you keep putting like big ears on them and weird alien stuff on them.
Commander Riker was banging Ensign Ro. Do you remember that? And she
Yeah.
was like that really hot chick.
The ridges on her nose,
Yeah,
Bajoran.
but she had the ridges. She was Bajoran, but she was that really hot chick from that really when she was in that David Duchovny movie where she murdered her husband and stuff like that. And it's just like you could have just kept her human, and Riker and her were
Yeah,
for
that's
like
what I'm
half a season.
saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like who's the first mate? The guy with the beard?
That's Riker.
That's
Yeah,
right. Okay.
that's Riker.
Okay.
First,
Yeah.
yeah, he's first officer, XO.
Like he should have been like had like a I don't know, like a Daisy Duke from
Well, then
Daisy,
he
you know,
ended
like
up
That's what Troy was.
marrying Deanna Troy. And you got to admit, Sirtis was pretty hot when she was young. I mean, she
Yeah.
was.
Hey,
Uh, if you
I
like
got
you'd
the
have to work
exotic
pretty
type,
hard. Like if you were young, like you'd have to work pretty hard on that. Like you just get a Sears catalog. You just open up a Sears catalog.
well,
can
look,
you
dude.
imagine though? Could you imagine being in a relationship with Commander Troy? She's like, I sense a deep sexual arousal from the alien vets.
Hey,
Like she'd comment on everything. William, I sense a deep stiffening in your lower body. I'd be like, it's like, shut up, bitch.
to show you what a complete dork I am, at the infantry officer basic course, I went to my first ever Star Trek convention in Columbus, Georgia, outside of Fort Benning, and there was a chick there dressed up as Deanna Troy in the tight aqua teal dress, showing the
What
cleavage and everything.
they called that the space cheerleader outfit on
Yeah, that was awesome.
famous.
And
Yeah,
I
I feel
got
like if you went to Comic Con, there'd be a lot. The outfits would be a little bit more, you know,
well, I mean, let's be
flattering.
fair. This was in Columbus, Georgia. I mean, we're not talking like the San Diego Comic Con. This was
Oh,
now
yeah.
I did get to meet John Delancey, the guy who plays Q. Got to
Oh,
talk to
that's
him for a
cool.
few minutes.
I bet you he was cool as shit. He seems like he'd be cool as shit.
It was interesting to watch him kind of get reticent when I was like, "So, what was Gene Roddenberry like?" He's like, "I liked him. Not everybody did." Uh,
You know who was a beautiful, classically beautiful woman was his wife, Majel Barrett, who did
yeah,
the voice of the Enterprise, and then she was Deanna
computer,
Troy's mom.
yeah.
Yeah, she was like classic, like gilf. Yeah, there was
I don't know because
he
when she
scored.
opens that mouth and starts talking, that was an extreme turnoff.
Well, I mean, she was the voice of the Enterprise, though, dude. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
but
her voice.
that didn't make the voice any less grating.
Yeah, I thought her voice. What? Her voice was fine. Jesus Christ, man.
Dude, get some hearing aids.
If there was 1,000 women that I voice checked right now, she would be in the top 10% with her voice. It was fine. It was fine. What the hell are you talking about? She was the voice of the Enterprise. God, you're
Coop, is
gay.
the sun up there
You're so
affecting your
fucking gay.
brain in
You're
some
gay.
way?
You're gay. You're just gay.
I mean, dude,
Just go be gay.
like
I'm
Dana.
looking at the next generation cast. Will
What did you
Wheaton.
think
Oh,
of,
that's a
hey,
shame.
Russ, and
That's a shame.
the other gentleman? What did you think of Denise Crosby? Remember Commander Tar, the security
Oh, you
officer who?
mean the former Playmate of the Month? Yeah.
Yes.
Was
Yeah, I
it?
was kind of pissed when they fired her off the series.
She asked to be fired. She asked
Yeah,
to
I know.
leave
I
because
know, but that was not a good career move for her because you never heard anything from her ever again,
hey,
ever.
look, the first two episodes I only kind of noticed her, but it was episode 3 or 4. It's called the Naked Now, I think, when she get
Right.
this virus is making everybody drunk and she's wearing this outfit that shows under boob. That was the first time I really noticed her.
She left. She
That's what
left
it
the.
takes, huh? Huh, Russ? Mr. Toxic Masculinity? You can't appreciate a woman for her
Hey,
fucking security
I was
skills
14 and she was showing
brain.
under boob. I liked it.
Yeah, you're the ones. You're what gives us a bad name right there. See? No,
Thanks, Russ.
her under boob was spectacular.
Yes.
Yes, and she looked good in Playboy. I remember
hmm
that. It's been many moons since I remember seeing it, but I was like, yeah, okay. I'd invite her for coffee and some avocado toast. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Who else were you looking at on the cast list there, Chris?
I was just looking at that Crosby lady.
Same.
She's been in some other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but she doesn't look as
Uh,
good now as she did then.
no, definitely not.
Well,
Definitely
Jesus
not.
Christ, who does?
They were all, I don't know. Yeah, just they need to add a little bit more sex appeal to these shows. They probably do now. I don't know if on the modern ones they probably
Oh
have
yeah, but I mean, dude, it was the
full or
mid to
partial
late
nudity.
80s. You
Yeah,
know,
it was on Fox. It was on Fox, I think.
it was
Do you
on
guys
like WJZY. It's like on the special independent station.
Okay.
it was on Fox at first, and then they were going to cancel, so the other one picked it up, and then it became a sensation. I got to ask you guys though. I don't know, Russ. I can't remember. We've talked about it before. Have you boys watched Strange New Worlds? The one that
That's
goes
no.
the one
No.
that goes it goes retro, where it's Commander Christopher Pike, and it's Anson. What the hell is that guy from? I like him anyway.
Oh, from that Western movie? From that
yes, the one with the
Anson Helm
railroad,
or something?
the one
Oh,
with
I
the
love that show.
railroad.
That was
Yeah,
an
and
amazing show.
it's him as Christopher Pike, and he's very
Oh.
good, and it's very retro because it's it goes back to an episodic slash serial approach to it, just like it tries to kind of revive the classic series, and he's very
Hmm.
Kirkian, although he likes to cook, and there's a few little and that's fine. That's not masculine, but Rebecca Romaine is his
Oh
first
yeah.
officer. Yeah, that's
Okay.
his first
Okay.
officer on
Is he
there.
an alien in blue paint?
No, she's
Yeah, they didn't put any like plates in her head, did
she is
they?
an alien, but she doesn't wear blue paint. But she's actually really believable and good. I'm like, I didn't know she could actually act. She's actually, and we all, of course, grown up in the decades that we did, remember Rebecca Romaine. My God,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
she got a remember she got like an action movie at some point. Remember that? She was like an
she did.
assassin. Remember that?
Yeah, she
It
did,
wasn't bad.
which was
I remember it. It wasn't bad.
I
I
wanted to
don't
know how
remember it.
John Stamos nailed her.
Yeah. I think that was after John Stamos, I think. But yeah, she had a movie there that for a little while, I guess like, to see if she
Yeah,
could be an action
you guys,
star.
I would really encourage because the new season is coming out. Season two is coming out here soon, or season three. I'd encourage you to watch it because it's very, very retro. Because that Star Trek Discovery fucking woke fucking piece of fucking dog fucking shit with lint and ants in it.
That's how you really feel.
Which I hate more than I just that
Oof.
almost ruined Star Trek for me. Okay, I'm a gay guy and I like have mushroom mycelium, and that's how we navigate through the universe. And the only white person in the entire thing is a white gay guy
That's
who
pretty
has a
funny.
black husband. It's
If
fucking
you're a
gross.
writer, if you're a writer for that new Star Trek show, they're just like, you not only do you have to come up with new aliens, but you also have to try to make them gay. It's like, it's
Like the
like
Cartman thing, like the Disney Cartman
Well, it's
episode.
just so weird because you're creating like this whole new species, but then you got to weave in or like the human sexual
It just it
spectrum.
just
Component.
it's just grotesque. No, you guys would like Strange New Worlds because it's definitely retro, and it goes back to
I've
Pike.
heard good things about it, but I just don't have
I only
the streaming service for it.
the only time I can,
You want my password, Manny?
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No, it's on Prime, and you'd be able to buy shit. So I'm not going to do that. No, I'm kidding.
Nah.
oh yeah,
I'm kidding.
like my kids do. My kids keep signing up for stuff on the Fire Stick somehow. I got to lock them down. I forget to lock them down. It's like, oh, we got a Peacock subscription.
It's
They
like,
just
what
see a
the-
show. They see a show and they're just like, click, click, click. Yeah.
Right.
God, can you imagine? Life was so different growing up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, we had to worry about making long distance phone calls that got charged to our parents' phone bill.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. Like I remember having my first TV was one of those TVs that had the vertical hold problem. So
The,
you'd
the
have like the
rabbit ears
lines,
had the
so you'd have to like hit the side of it, So
you have
it's
to
like
adjust
even
horizontal
watching
and
back
vertical
then, it
knobs.
was like not only were you worried if something good was on, you're also worried, will my TV work today? Like,
Right.
well,
will
and Jeff
will
Foxworthy had it
normal
right. Remember,
apps?
if the president was on and there was a special report, your night was over.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Oh, I remember. Do you remember that as a kid? Like something would happen, and then like all your shows got wiped out, and the news was on. It's like, fuck!
Yep.
I gotta
Special
go read my
presentation.
Scholastic Reader again for the 15th time and play with Legos.
Bro, I think after 9/11, just to be really terrible, is as when they postponed the NFL season because that was the year the Ravens had won the Super Bowl. So I was just like so psyched for the season, the NFL season to start with the Ravens as the reigning champions. And then they were like, we're pushing it back, and I was like, what the? And I was like,
What?
I guess we probably should. I guess we probly should
Yeah,
postpone some.
I was a company commander when that happened.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, we need to do an episode where we get into that, like the whole like, because I like the episodes where you guys talk about the years because you talk about where you were at that point, but then it's just that year, but
I,
kind
I
of
have
talk about it
expectations of
more
it, then it
like,
degenerates.
yeah, oh yeah,
I
it
know.
gets worse.
So
Yeah.
so I had to start the podcast over last night because my computer needed a reboot because I couldn't pull any videos down or anything. And I know what happens. I have a very high end computer, but it's a little bitchy. And Russ, we ended up clocking out at just over 2 hours with those two segments.
Awesome.
And Russ texted me the day before, and he's like, I'm a single dad this weekend, so I can only do an hour. And then we end up doing like 2 hours. And I haven't listened to it yet. I've listened to segments of it, of course, as I was editing, but it's like I hope it's entertaining. Jesus Christ, 2 hours. I don't remember talking that long. I honestly
Yeah,
don't.
it was fun. I had studied with my youngest before then, and then we did a little bit more on our social studies before bed, so everything was good.
How what age range? This is you said your oldest or youngest?
Youngest. She's in sixth grade,
Okay.
and she's
Oh, okay. Yeah, my boy's in seventh grade, so okay. Just
keep her
started
away
middle
from my
school.
daughter. No, I just
Oh,
look.
I will. Believe me, man. I'm not looking for you to show up at our house with a shotgun
well,
because
look.
I'm
She
it's sixth grade was crazy for him.
I've
He knew what
I've
was
had
up.
to clue her in. They have the achievement. You know, remember how you had to take those achievement tests every year?
Yeah,
She's
yeah, they
got
have
that
that
coming up
here.
next week, and she's all stressed about it. I'm like, honey, none of this is going to impact your grade. Okay, this is for them
Yeah,
to kind of figure out where you are and know how the school as a whole is doing. Don't worry, these achievement tests count nothing towards your grade. She's like, but they're making it
yeah.
such a big deal. I'm like, yeah, they're making it a big deal for them. Okay, you'll be fine.
I think it is for them. I think it's all for them. It's all for the like it's all for the I wouldn't even say the teachers because that's not
Cool.
fair. It's
It's
more for
for
the
the
school.
budget, man.
It's more for the administrators. Yeah, the administrators, the budgets, the superintendent bonuses.
Yeah. So
Because
I've had
those
about
scores tick up a tenth of a percentage, and like the superintendent of the school district is going to get like $100,000 bonus. Like it's
I've had to tell her, hey, look, just consider this. This is the week you don't have homework. Just relax.
yeah. My son's got this in Texas. They call it STAR testing, STAAR. He's got
Yeah,
that next
they've
week.
taken that here sometimes.
Yeah. You can opt them out too, but it's like then you
No,
just
no need. I mean, she goes to a
yeah.
really good school, so you know, they do this kind of stuff. She's in sixth grade and she's all stressing over her grades. And I had to walk that fine line between making sure she's studious, so she's in a good rhythm when she gets to high school, but making sure she knows that it's not the end of the world if something happens, especially in sixth grade. But
Yeah.
she informed me today that she's made a change in what she wants to be when she gets older. Up until recently, she wanted to be a vet, and now she wants to be a lawyer.
Mm.
Could be a vet lawyer,
Yeah,
What made
Represent
her change her
Benji.
mind?
What? Mole Man. She lots of people have told her that she likes to argue, which I have no idea where she gets that from, and so that's why she would make a good lawyer.
Gotcha.
My mom wants all my kids to be veterinarians, but I guess like if you're going to be a vet, you gotta like you need to be volunteering and stuff early on, I think, to get into those programs because they're kind of limited. So if you're just like in college and you decide to be a vet, it's you need to volunteer. You need to be sticking your fingers up cats' butts like when you're in high school.
That's why I told her she's gonna have to take biology because she's gonna have to know if she can stomach cutting stuff open if she ever wants to be a vet.
Yeah.
And they won't let you volunteer at the vet clinics till you're 16. But like I said, I mean, a month and a half or so ago, she's changed her mind and she wants to. That's what she said. But she's in sixth grade. She's gonna change it another dozen times before she ever even looks at colleges.
That's good though. That was your older daughter like that as well? Like you know, didn't have to worry like big into school and all that
Well, I
or
mean, she's good at
studious.
school. I mean, she got really good grades and stuff. She wanted to be a an animator for a while, and then suddenly at the beginning of her 11th grade year, she wanted to go be a nurse, and so she's in nursing school right now.
Oh
She just
yeah, there you
started.
go.
Well,
There you go.
just started college. She hasn't officially started the nursing school. She has to make sure that she's got, you know, she maintains her grades and gets into that, and then because she wants to be a pediatric NICU NICU nurse because
Mm.
she was born 2.5 months early, so it's something she wants to do.
Oh yeah, that is something. Well, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say that good profession, good money,
I told
hard
her that.
job, hard job, harder than yeah, hard job. That's a hard job,
But I've
man.
told her, look, if she can do that, she'll have a job like the day after she passes the certification
Yeah,
exam.
100%. Yeah, 100%. If not before that, have an offer. Yeah, my mom was a nurse, not like the college type nurse, but like she was a nurse and did that's like not the 4 year graduation college nurse, but yeah,
Yeah, but I'm
I
like,
remember.
hey, look, money, health insurance, a career, all good things.
Mhm. Free
And
drugs. I mean,
yeah. But
Advil,
I'm
Advil,
also
free
trying to.
Tylenol.
I haven't really told him too much yet, but I got a buddy of mine who's got a son that's a junior in ROTC. I'm trying to tell my buddy to nudge him to go to Fort Campbell so he can meet my daughter and she can marry a nice young Army officer.
Oh, that's sweet.
There you go.
That's that's your toxic trait, isn't it? You just care about your kids so much.
Yeah, too
That's
much.
mine. That's my toxic trait. I worry to death about my kids and their future and their safety. Just like not like even their profession, just their safety and their health. Man, it's just like it's getting to the point
Well,
where that's like I'm just obsessed with it.
it's funny you mentioned that. On the way home from school today, my youngest starts talking about the child abduction cases she's been reading about, like Adam Walsh and some of these others. I'm like, yeah, that's good to be talking to your dad about. I told her, and I'm sure you can relate to this. There's a balance you have to try to strike between, letting your kids grow and do stuff independently, but not letting them be in danger. And that line is not quite as clear as you wish it
Want it to
was.
be. Yeah.
Well, with my son, it's easier with my son because he's a good one. He's a big boy. He's a tough one. So like I'm not worried about him. He can handle himself, and you know. But then with the girls, it's completely different. I have twin daughters that are in second grade. That's completely different.
Oh,
You know,
it's always opposite sex
completely different.
parents
Yeah.
that dote on that one.
Yeah, yeah. My son is real, like, and Laura, they're real close. They just, yeah.
It's
But
probably a good thing
I
I
am,
didn't
I
have
am
a
too.
boy. Probably a good thing I didn't have a boy because my wife agrees. I'd have been way too hard on a boy probably.
Yeah, I've started to back off. I was real hard on him earlier on. I think it worked though, because he's a tough son of a gun. He's a
Good.
tough one. Yeah. So
We need men like that.
I feel like it kind of worked because he doesn't, yeah, he's a tough kid. He's a proud kid. Uh,
Also hating
yeah,
commies
I feel
as
like,
much as you do.
oh yeah, yeah. He doesn't know, really doesn't know what they are yet, but yeah, I tell him
Chris,
about the evils of centralized government. You don't have to be
Chris,
communist. You just,
you'll get a real kick out of this. My youngest is getting this way, but my oldest, this was several years ago. I think she was 15. And she was talking about her fantasies of winning the lottery, like we all do. I'm like, she's like, I could win the $500 million lottery. I'm like, well, you wouldn't actually get $500 million. I mean, the cash payout's only like 320. She's like, yeah, but I could live on 320 million. And I'm like, yeah, but the government's gonna take like the government's gonna take 40% of that because of taxes and stuff. She goes, they tax your lottery winnings? I was like, yeah. She goes, I fucking hate government. I was like, yeah, I've raised you right.
that's good, man. Yeah, congratulations on that. That's like yeah, you got, well, like I ever say, I always say it, and it's never too early to drive a wedge between your children and the institutions that are coming for them.
Oh yeah, no, I
So yeah,
my oldest
but
hates it, but she can quote by heart the three ways that you don't stay permanently poor in the United States. That's graduate from high school, don't have kids till you're married, and get and keep a job. She knows those three by heart because they got drilled into her from the time she was 6.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I
That's
worry. It's
that's incredibly toxic, Russ. That's
I know.
it's very
I'm a
toxic.
toxic type of guy. Just ask anybody.
It's like in inscribing masculine and traditional values in your daughter. Holy shit, that's really toxic. I mean, look, she could become like a cat lesbian artist person.
No,
I
she'd be one
actually,
of the 7,462 other genders.
Jesus Christ, I went to an art. There's a little art thing that happens in my hometown where some East Coast liberal, she's actually a nice lady, but she bought the old grade school that was in my hometown and turned it into like an artist community. And so they go through there, and I've been to several of the book readings and art things because I
you should
consider
start
myself an
painting.
artist myself. There was
Yeah.
actually some gal from Seattle, a young Asian gal who spent 30 minutes explaining to her how her paint and pollen, flicking pollen on her acrylic paint was spiritually meaning. So Russ, I would actually suggest that maybe you back off and let her become a pollen artist. I'm
Yeah, I
not
don't see
kidding.
that gonna happen.
I actually sat through that entire thing just because I wanted to experience it, just to recognize how I'm right about everything. And these are silly, sad people that have had nothing bad happen to them in their entire lives. So, and I have no idea what that's about. No idea what that's like.
Yeah.
I wonder, did you ever, one of the things I had two things I wanted to bring up tonight. Do you
Mm.
ever think about, because I'm not being a bitch here or anything like that. Russ knows a little bit about my life, not everything, not a lot of it, but I've had a rough motherfucking life. I have in a lot of ways. I'm also incredibly blessed in a lot of ways too. I recognize both. But how different would you be if you'd been that silver spoon up your ass born on third base person? I think I'd be dead. I think I would have like coked myself out on a Puerto Rican whore probably 25 years ago. Um,
You've been Hunter Biden.
no, because I'm smart. But I wouldn't have been that stupid. But I often wonder about that. It's like, you see these shows and I just drive around and I look at people's houses and it's like, okay, I was a colonel in the United States Army and I get a fairly comfortable, I mean, my retirement isn't terrible. It's not great money, but it's not terrible. And I go, how the fuck what do these people do for a living that they can afford this shit? There's like 3 ski boats and fucking, this perfectly manicured and 4-story house. And I'm like, what the fuck did you
Drugs
do?
and or fraud
God, I mean, and so I
or
go, I
both.
wonder what would happen if I grew up with generational wealth. How different would I be? Would I have handled it as well as Donald Trump did? Or would I have been that guy that literally would have blown out his heart and doing coke off a hooker's ass in
Well,
Vegas? You
it
know,
would depend on like the people raising you, honestly, if they would raise you properly to, be aware of the
Yeah,
type
I
of
think
situation that you're being raised in, and
I
then
bet it
right.
does
the
come
rest would be
down
on
to
you.
like it does come down to like no matter how much money there is, like are your parents around?
Yeah, the
And are
involvement
they
of the parents.
and are they somewhat, they don't even have to be awesome, but they can't be terrible, but they got to just be decent. And if they're just a lot, I think it's like a factor of the time. But I guess, the wealthier you are, the less time people spend with their kids, maybe just because,
Mhm.
to get that wealth, you got to travel more for work,
Well,
whatever, or you have a lot of options and you can just take vacations separately all the time. Like
let me do it. Let me throw you the
that's a lot of
corollary.
Hollywood. That's probably why a lot of Hollywood is so broken
Messed
Right.
up.
because,
Sure. Let me
they
throw
just
you the
don't spend the
corollary,
time.
and I won't get deep into it, but when I was a kid, Um, there was definitely problems in my parents' marriage. I didn't realize I wasn't my dad's son, so he always hated my guts. My mom drank a lot and did jobs where she was like running bars and stuff like that. So I was essentially I'd get home when I was 9 years old. I lived on a farm. It was my job to feed all the animals, do all that stuff, and sometimes nobody got home till 4 or 5 in the morning. That's I'm 9 or 10 years old doing that. I mean, and back then in the 70s and early 80s, we had a lot of snow. It was cold where I grew up, about an hour and a half from here, up by Mount Rainier, and so there was there was zero parental unless it was just yelling,
Right.
or that kind of thing. And then, when I got into high school and I got my driver's license and I was kind of pretty and girls liked me and I was playing sports, then I
I
was
was
just
so
like, fuck it.
picky.
I know. I mean, but I've been blessed in a lot of ways because there was teachers and parents of my buddies who I know now that they knew what was going on at my home. It wasn't pretty. And so
Mm.
I was like over at their homes and all the time. So I had a lot of that going on. But there was also the one blessing about that is my parents, like, I didn't have a curfew because I was a straight A student and I played sports and all my teachers liked me. So there was no reason to give me a curfew. So I did whatever the fuck I wanted once I got that underneath me. I think I got chewed out by my parents one time because I was over at a girl's house until 9 in the morning and they had no idea.
You were just talking,
um,
right?
yeah,
I don't know. I was thinking you
actually,
take the
yes. Actually, to
positives.
be her stepmom was there the entire time and we just drank beers and had a
Oh,
good time.
Damn, you
your stepmom was
player.
there? You heart
For
of
real,
God.
dude. Jesus, man.
That used to be pretty back in the day. No, but I hear you. I don't disagree with you, Chris, but it kind of goes both ways too. I mean, the poor kind of do the same thing because both my parents had to work. My dad was a millwright, which means he worked in a sawmill making machines and fixing machines and doing all the fabrication and welding and stuff. And my mom ran bars. There was nobody fucking home, and my brother and sister were 9 years older than me because I'm a bastard, literally. Hence the podcast. And they were never there because they hated being there. So my brother was off at his friend's house. My sister was living with her boyfriend. So yeah, you got a 9-year-old kid running a farm by himself. So I guess that's part of where
Yeah.
my toxic masculinity comes from because fuck you. I am as
Yeah,
man.
that's
You know what I
rough.
mean?
That is rough. At the same, I think as you get older though, you start, I don't know, just because the humans do what we do, we try to like heal wounds. Like you start thinking about all the freedom you had and maybe all the positives that you had as a young
Definitely.
kid and that freedom. Like
Definitely.
um yeah, maybe it's not like a necessarily a factor of the total time the parents spend. Maybe it's more about just being consistent. If like you had a mom and dad and they both worked hard, but they both came home at the same time every day and they kind of had the same attitude every day.
Right.
And it wasn't like it sounds like your situation was very um
Oh, I had no
could
fucking
be could
clue
be
day
very
to
yeah, it
day.
could be very
No
from
idea.
day to day, very it's like that consistency. Like even if your dad works 12-hour days and he comes home every day with his lunch pail and then goes to bed, like that routine of seeing that counts a lot more than spending 10 hours a day with the kid or something. Just
No, I
consistency.
totally get that. I totally get that. Like, Corolla talks about, well, who provided for you? And that's another question I wanted to ask you guys. I'll wait until a little bit later, but who provided for you? Who gave you all this? I'm out there struggling, hustling, and you guys can sit in the pool and, watch Netflix and order fucking Uber Eats all day.
Mhm.
I don't think there's enough appreciation for my problem wasn't that my dad and he was a workaholic and I inherited his work ethic, thank God. He gave me some positive things despite the fact that we had a really rough relationship. But um it was when he woke up and he was present, he was a fucking asshole. He was a homicidal maniac. So that was the difference. If it had been like, oh, I wish it had been like when I was like 5 years old and my dad would be driving home
Yeah.
from work and I'd run out to meet him at the bridge and I could sit on his lap and, steer the pickup back for him. Um, that's the difference, I think. It's like what quality time do you put into that time? And that's the attitude that you have. And, being afraid of when your parents come home because mom might be drunk and being a fucking bitch and dad is going to be angry. That is the worst thing a kid can fucking go through, that anticipation. You should
Yeah.
you, you should be waiting for your parents to walk in the door so you can. And sounds like you and Russ have that. It's like you walk in the door and your kids are like, "Yay, dad's home," you know? And
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
never
try
had
to
that.
provide that now. Try to provide that now. Haven't always.
Yeah.
I made some mistakes
It's
several
interesting to
years
me.
back and fixed it. But it's when I was a kid, I was my mom and dad divorced when I was before I was aware of things. I remember like yeah, it was yeah. Not definitely wasn't running a farm and feeding farm animals, but yeah, like you got to make sure that young kids feel very valuable. And it sounds so cheesy and cliche and obvious, but it's like you need to make sure that they feel like they have value and they're very important. And yeah, when you're like there's divorce there, like kids start to yeah,
Sure.
like it's real easy for them to start thinking like, oh,
Excuse me.
One of
I
the
don't matter or I'm not important or I don't have a lot of value here, especially if the parent's abusive, but like yeah, so
Yeah, one of the you know, I've actually told my parents this. I said the single greatest advantage they gave me in life was that they were married when I was born and they've stayed together my entire life. They stayed together throughout my childhood. They're still together now. That was the biggest advantage they gave me growing up was consistency of that. Real
Mhm.
quick, Coop, you were talking about the anticipation. One of the worst punishments that I ever got. I'll never forget this. I was in third grade. I'd gotten some bad grade on something, and my teacher sent the work home to get my parents to sign it, and I signed it for my parents because they didn't need to be bothered. Um,
Right.
and even trying to mimic my mom's signature, it looked nothing like my mom's signature, so the teacher knew right away. Um, but the worst punishment I got was after the teacher had called my mom and they had a parent-teacher conference about it. My mom making me sit at the kitchen table with that work, waiting for my dad to come home, so I had to show it to him and tell him what I had done. That was I
that's
remember
rough. Yeah.
it's been almost 43 years and I still remember the fear involved in having to go to him and explain that and yeah, that was not good.
My mom would use like my mom my mom and dad were not friends. They were not friends when I was growing up. That my memory of that is pretty clear. But my mom would use my dad as like when your dad sees your report card. This and again, we were talking about middle school, like this is middle
Yeah.
school grades that when your dad sees your report cards, he is gonna be so pissed off. And then he'd come to pick me up for the weekend and I'd be like, I'm not going. And it was like it was crazy. Yeah, it was there were some crazy scenes that she was probably like, I probably shouldn't have told him that because now his dad's out front and he won't go outside.
Well,
He refuses to leave the house, like go outside and get picked up.
the two
But
things
yeah,
that actually pissed me off a great deal when I became a grown up, once I found out about this, um, going back to the thing where I told you I signed my mom's name. Um, it was probably a decade and a half ago, maybe. We're up at maybe 2 decades ago, maybe. We were at my grandmother's house sitting around the kitchen table, and she was like, Russell, let me tell you some of the crazy things your dad did when he was growing up. He came and asked me how to spell my name once. I was like, why? And my dad's eyes get wide, and she's like, well, he got some bad report card and tried to sign my name to it. And I looked over and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that was one of the worst trouble. He's like, mother, you shouldn't have told him that. And then the other was when I actually found one of his old report cards because he made him sound like a straight A student. And he put so much pressure on me to, study and get good grades. And I did. I was, pretty much a straight A student, if not A's and B's. And I see some of his report cards. He's got like C's and D's in this. Like, dude, what the fuck? You like were making it sound like you were some scholar, and that's why you put all this pressure on him. He's like, well, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm
There you
so hard,
go.
one of the reasons I'm so hard on my son is that because I was terrible. Like no matter what he's done in middle school, I was so much worse because like we would cut school all the time because there was nothing they could do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like if you're not in the class, like your parents get an email
And a phone
immediately
call and
saying
a
like your
text.
son was not in period 8 today, and it's like you can't get away with it. Like they can't get away with a lot of stuff we were getting away with back then, but I was terrible, and I know we can't get away with it, but I still am hard on them because I don't want them to
Pick up
kind of get that
the
wild.
habit.
Like
Yeah, well,
yeah,
a
like
good good friend of mine from my childhood, um, who was the neighborhood delinquent, is probably the toughest parent that I know on his boy, who's straight A student, scholarships to college now. But when his dad was growing up, I mean, that was the boy that there would be periods of a month or two where I wasn't allowed to hang out with him because my parents thought he was a bad influence.
Mhm.
And now
yeah,
he was the one that's so hard on his son, making sure he's in school and getting the grades and all this stuff.
I'm sure he learned
I was pretty
from his
bad.
ways.
Oh yeah,
I was real bad in elementary and middle school. I went to a private school for high school and shaped up, and it became very competitive, and I got great grades and all. But yeah, I was real bad. I got suspended a lot.
oh
Way
I
worse stuff than he does. Way worse.
I can't lie. I was a nerd and a goody goody. So I mean, this just I was the one always afraid of getting in trouble, and so I pretty much was on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. Well, because you had parents at home. I was like just playing my parents off each other all the time, getting double allowance money. Like it was just like because I knew that they hated each other. So it's like you know you
Mama
see
wouldn't give me any
opportunity
money this week.
you see opportunities. But yeah,
Man,
I was terrible. I was we the best thing. Yeah, we were just a whole. Yeah, I was just troublemaker. I turned into a class clown to was like more like make people laugh than cause trouble. But we did a field trip to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore as a class in middle school, and we planned it. We planned this so far in advance. We bought a bunch of squirt guns and brought them with us
uh-huh.
because we decided we were as soon as like we got to the Inner Harbor, which is this nice like mall food, we were going to have a class water gun fight. Yeah, and we did it like all over this place. We got in so much. I wound up getting suspended. I got suspended. Like two of us got suspended. I remember the teacher caught us, and then she took our water guns, and then we went in her purse and stole the water guns out of her purse. And it was like that was a mistake because we got in a
Yeah.
lot of trouble for that. I remember it was so funny because I had my idea was I filled up my water gun with soapy water.
Oh, I
I
thought you were
went,
gonna
Oh,
say
you were saying
I,
urine.
feet in it.
no, I went in the bathroom and I was like, I got the pink soap and I put the pink soap in there and had its like sudsy water. So I remember when I went into her purse, I went into the teacher's purse and stole the water gun back. It was like it had all leaked out. It had all leaked out in her purse. Her purse was like full of like sudsy water.
She's like, these little bastards.
Yeah.
This is my
So
good
that's
purse.
Hooligan.
that's what I think of every day when I drop my son off. I'm like, is he gonna do that today? And I'm just like, you better fucking stay strict. It's just I start getting hard on him, but no, I think the kids nowadays, like they're monitored so much too.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
My, yeah, my son, they were doing this prank in elementary school. They were doing a prank where the boys were like going behind each other and kneeling down and then pushing, so you fall over,
A classic, yes.
or they were doing something where you you push somebody over, but then you grab their hand or something like that, and the kids were getting hurt
Face.
because they were getting their elbows messed up. Like they were just doing
Oh.
like it was doing like TikTok things that kids were saying they saw. Like there'd be a kid with an older brother that's would see something on TikTok, tell his younger brother, then they do it in elementary school. But like one time, my son got hurt because the other kids did a prank because he was doing the same stuff. So it's just he's the one that got hurt. They had that shit on videotape.
Oh God.
They had a video of him getting hurt, getting injured in the hallway.
I mean, there. Look, I know it's kind of become a cliche, but it is. I do thank God that they didn't have this kind of monitoring and the social media stuff around when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
I mean,
big
so
time.
much stuff that we did that nowadays would have already ruined your life
We
at
would
the
have had to
age of
move.
14 or
Yeah, we
15.
would have had to move many times. We'd have to move neighborhoods, move to different states.
You had to
Did you
erase the
guys
internet somehow.
experience
Yeah.
the sack
So
tapping epidemic?
to be honest, like in that episode there where they had that on film, because they were in fifth grade, they like had the police. They had the police called me. They were
What?
like, "Do you want to press?" Yeah, I swear to God, they were like, "Do you want to press charges?"
Like, dude, they're 10. It's not like you stabbed him in the
They're like,
skull.
maybe not like prep, but like, do you want to like? They're basically there was the school resource officer was like, "I have to ask you if you want to do something about it." And I was like, "Of course not."
Like, sure, let him kneel
I was
down
like,
and
because
bump the
I'm
other guy
sure
in the
my son.
nuts.
I was like, my son was probably doing the same thing to everybody else, but
Let me just step in and tell you how different things are from back, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the community I grew up in, farm boy in a logging town, very small towns and all that kind of thing. I once got a bunch of guys on the football bus to pluck out their butt hair and their pubic hair and put it in a Dixie cup, and I lit it on fire and put it on a guy's lap that we didn't like. That's a true fucking story.
that's
And
That's not a
That
big
not
is
one.
only,
He's
not only
insane.
did we not get in trouble,
I'm sorry.
Eleanor, the bus driver, who was this cranky old lady, thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard because she didn't like the guy
yeah. I don't
either.
know.
Yeah,
I
we're
feel like
back
we
there
gotta
like
like
plucking
it's
butt
like
hairs and pubics, putting in a Dixie cup, and I lit it on fire. I don't know why I had a Bic lighter because I didn't smoke.
Oh
I don't
my
know why I had one.
god.
I guess one of the stoner dudes gave it to me or something like that, and I put it on his seat next to him when he was sleeping. The
I'm
flaming.
not sure if that's like assault or a sex crime. I'm not even. I'm like we gotta figure
Don't
out how
know,
to
but it
categorize.
Borderline both,
it
it
was
Categorize.
sounds
it was
like.
my idea, and it seemed funny to me at the time. It just seemed, and it's now that I
Yeah.
haven't thought about that literally in like 30 years. You guys are talking about pranks. Oh my god. You hear like Adam Carolla talk about pranks. Yeah, I mean that ranks right up there. Butt and pubic hair
Yeah.
in a cup.
I remember
Or
we had a weird kid on a field trip, and like some girl was like sitting there in the bus, and then he was sitting behind her, and he started doing this to her hair.
Just running his fingers through it like a weirdo.
So what we did afterwards, we told him that that's how girls get pregnant, and he got her pregnant, and he believed it. It was not. We shouldn't have done that to him. He should, and he shouldn't have been in a regular classroom with us kids either. He should
oh
have
my
been in a
god, that's
different
hilarious.
class.
That much of a weirdo,
But
huh?
it was pretty cruel. But yeah,
Yeah,
you think of like, yeah, you just like you get at that age, like kids get real creative. Boys get real well. I'm gonna say boys because girls do too. They get worse even,
Mhm.
I think. But yeah, boys get real creative with like what to light on fire on the kids they don't like. Like
yeah. I
could
would
have been a
actually
bag of
like to do
shit.
that. I would like to do that now, but unfortunately my DNA is registered with the Department of Correction.
Yeah, you gotta get some.
Just wear
You gotta get
gloves,
some.
man. What are you doing?
You're
Stop being
burning
an
the
amateur.
evidence.
You can get some pubes online from reputable sources.
Oh
You know,
God,
Pubes are
how do we get
us.
this? How do we get this going down as well in this conversation?
I brought it up. I brought it up. You
Coop.
know that.
Yeah,
We're
Coop.
talking about
Coop.
toxic masculinity,
He
but here's the
literally
thing.
brought it up.
You know what? Nobody got hurt, and that dude and I are friends. We've been friends for 30 years. I mean, we got over it. You get over that shit.
I mean,
And
he
every
dresses
time,
like a woman now, but it's fine. And his name's
yeah,
her name's Delilah. But
no, he
you're
uh he
friends.
he puts up telephone poles for a living and runs the crews that do it. So he makes like $125 an hour working for the county, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he's fine.
Has a
Fine.
30-foot, 40-foot yacht, and
Well, no, but
yeah.
he's got a Ford F-350 that's like 10 feet off the ground. That's what they do out here to show their
There you
penis.
go.
You guys ever watch? You ever guys get into the toxic masculinity on YouTube, where it's just like dudes that go camping in the wild? I know you guys did all your own camping and stuff like that with gunfire,
That's actually
but like
why the
there's
army is
one.
why I will never is why I have never taken and will never take my girls camping.
Yeah, I know, but like there's one where there's a guy. I think it's oh man, it's called like Diesel River, And this
Uh-huh.
guy, I don't know what he's done, but he's gotten himself into a situation where he's just got like a massive compound and he goes out and he buys like diesel tractors, trucks, like the Cat D9 bulldozers that are
Hmm.
classics. And because they're just a lot of those things are just sitting in fields rusting away. But he goes out to these fields and he like tries to get them started, and he does because these things are tanks. But he just does it, and it's like an hour and a half video of just him restoring a bulldozer. I'll just watch the whole thing.
You're not like turning it into an armored car and to drive down a street like happened was about 25
Well,
years
yeah,
ago,
that's
right?
that's what I'm kind of trying to build some knowledge for that for when things come to that. But but no, it's just there's a lot of stuff out there. I don't know why I was thinking about diesel trucks, fixing diesel
No,
trucks, but
You mean
when it
these
comes
men
to
who
you,
actually know how to do things, who actually have
yeah,
skills and know how to
it is
build
kind of
and
cool
make
because they
make things
they
better?
I'm
Like the guys
fascinated
I
because it's
grew up
like
with, yeah.
yeah, that's what made me think about it because it's like they do know, like this guy knows everything about like every diesel engine ever
Right.
made,
I admire
and
the hell out of
apparent
it. I
and
do.
apparently he also has a shitload of money, like because he's just like, yeah, I spent 15,000. I don't know if it'll run or not, but we're gonna try. I spent 50,000 of this. And he just spends a ton of money on parts and all these things, and he's got like a cameraman filming him. I'm like, what did this guy do? Because he wasn't a stockbroker. Because
diesel
you can see
mechanic, they
his
probably
hand. You can
pull
see
in
his
a bunch of
hand.
money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, he just knows how to fix
I have
diesel
a
engines.
buddy that's a diesel mechanic over on the other side of the state where it's flat, brown, and hot and cold, depending on what years. He's a diesel mechanic, and he didn't come out of the army to do it, which they make a ton if you are a diesel mechanic in the army. And now you can get certified almost right away. It used to be you couldn't; you had to go all the way back through school. But now he literally makes about $200 an hour.
Mhm.
That's fucking great. I
It
love that.
is.
I love that. I love that this guy and he's skilled at what he does. And you know, he's a bit of a D bag, and I make fun of him all the time because he wears the hat with the flat brim, and he spends like 5 grand on wheels for his new truck or whatever, and it's like, really, dude? But good guy, actually good guy, beautiful wife, sweetheart.
Mhm.
And he makes like 250 dollars an hour as a diesel mechanic, depending on what project they're. I'm just like, what the fuck? This whole Corolla's been harping on this for a while now about,
The trades, yeah.
the trades and all that. And it's like I could never be in the trades myself because I'm such a up here guy that I would get incredibly bored with anything I was good at within like 10 minutes and want to do something else. That's just me. But I so admire those guys. Man, I admire those guys. It's like my dad. Um, I never met my biological father, so when I say my dad, I mean the guy that signed my birth certificate, even though I wasn't his kid. Um, he was considered the most talented welder and fabricator anywhere, and people would always come over to the house on weekends, bringing him projects and can you fix this? Can you fix that? And the guy could look at something, and I worked with him for 2 summers at the mill that he basically built, and we had a great time when we were working together. Otherwise not so much, but I had the work ethic and he loved that. But I watched him build things. He would go out, take a couple of measurements, go into his shop, and there'd be a machine that did whatever it needed to do. Just like boom, right out of his head. And God, I admired that about him. He was a frickin' I can say all the bad things in the world of la la la, but at the end of the day, I admired his genius. I could go to him with any problem that I was having. It's like, hey, I'm trying to, raise the barn, doing this and doing that. Man, what do you think? And he would like, let me go look at it, boy. And then he would tell me, and then I would do it. I mean, it was just
My
like I admire the hell out of men like that. I just do.
my dad was like that too. He was an engineer, and he would just do everything himself, like just DIY everything. And I wish I appreciated it more. I guess I was young and I was just like, I don't really I would just go over his house every other weekend because
Got you.
that was the
Mhm.
deal. It was like, I don't really want to help you replace the siding on the house this weekend, Dad. I'm 9. He's just like, what? It's like, what's wrong with you? You're never
Well,
gonna amount to anything. It's like, but that's like, but that's the kind of stuff he would do. He would just redo his own roof, like his own vinyl siding. It's like, because it was like, you know, the idea to pay someone to do that. Like if he had a
It's an
car
insult to him.
repair,
It's like,
it's
that's
whoa.
why I
like
do. You,
I'm not gonna pay Pep Boys 19.99 for to replace this or that. I'll do it myself. Like,
yeah, you bring up some of the
yeah,
stuff when
I was
folks want to know
obsessed with
where
that stuff.
why Generation X is so cynical and why Generation X doesn't have many feelings. It's a lot of it has to do with the fact that we helped our dads work on stuff on the weekends. I mean,
That's
you're
true.
getting
Yeah.
yelled at, bring me the wrench, boy. No, the different size wrench, the one that I mean.
Yeah,
Hey,
I had a Chevy Cavalier. I had a 1984 Chevy Cavalier that he gave me when I was in high school, and I had a broken control arm. I don't know if anybody knows what a control arm is on a car, but I had a broken right front control arm.
Suspension.
It's
Yeah.
this big metal thing that comes out and kind of holds the wheel into place, and it was like we went and we like the mechanic was like, yeah, it'd be $200 to replace it. My dad was like, are you kidding me? So I think we bought like $100 worth of parts, which is like things that you have to like these things that you crank to take your springs, the struts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there,
So it
back there was
doesn't
like you would have to
fuck your
like then
face up.
you had to tighten them up so that then you could take the strut out, take the control. We replaced a control arm on a Chevy Cavalier. It took it took like 3 weekends in a row to do this. It took so long.
Uh,
but
It took so long, and I was just like, and the whole time I knew that it was like $200 just to get it fixed. And my dad was, I wasn't aware of his finances, but he lived in a nice house and had cars and stuff. So I was like, this can't be worth it. So I don't do
let,
that kind of stuff now.
let,
But man, that was yeah,
let me confess to
no
I guess being a
feelings.
partial pussy on some of that stuff. Look, I am not mechanically inclined at all. It drives my
Partial.
wife.
That's cute. That's cute. Partial. Cute.
Yeah. Look, I'm not mechanically inclined at all. It drives my wife nuts sometimes, but the way I look at it is I make money so I can pay people to fix this shit for me. I know that sounds bad, but you know what?
Yeah,
I went through that shit as a kid, and I'm like, no, I've got the money. I can pay people to fix that. I don't want to go out there and do that myself. I'm not, first of all, I'm not good at it. I recognize my limitations. That my brain just doesn't work that way. If someone's telling me step by step how to do stuff, that's fine. But trying to figure it out on my own, that's just not the way my brain works.
and you
So
never were motivated enough to figure it out on your own, and you just
nope,
decided, oh, okay.
nope. I said my now there I can field strip an M240 Bravo machine gun and put it back together, and I can do that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like engines and uh, appliances and stuff, no, that's my brain does
yeah.
not operate on
I
that
wouldn't
level.
try.
I have a
I wouldn't
different
try on.
cognitive level.
I wouldn't try on an engine today, but that was a good period back then where like your dad could like you could change the spark plugs, you could do a lot of stuff to a car in the 80s. That was pretty wasn't that it was there definitely wasn't any computers involved. And you could do a
Not that
lot of
many,
stuff
at
on your
least.
car and it wasn't all interconnected. There was the engines were designed to where you could actually get to things because they knew that people would have to replace stuff
Yeah.
to
Well,
where
the owner's
yeah,
manual just to tell you how to change out, how to change out the
oh
batteries
man,
and stuff, and now they tell you not to
I can
drink the
still
fluids.
I can still close my eyes and I can see all the Chilton. It was Chilton, right?
Yeah,
Chilto.
or
Chilton, the
Haynes.
auto, like you would buy, my dad would have the Chilton manuals for any car he had, which is like like a book that thick. And it was like, it was literally the manual to the entire car, like to
The
fix
manual of
everything
manuals.
with all like the parts and things like exploded or whatever they call it to where you would be able to replace these or know like they explode the transmission so that you knew which part number you needed to order so you could do it yourself. There you go. Is that a Chilton or is that the Haynes? That's the
That's the
Haynes.
Haynes.
Both.
I have the Chilton too.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, my dad had all those like,
Yeah.
and so I think for most of my life I was like, I gotta get a job so I don't have to do this kind of stuff because man,
Yeah.
I'd rather just watch movies on the weekend than like replace a control arm. And but then as I'm aging now, I'm like collecting tools and trying to make stuff. I'm just like, we don't need to buy that shit. I can fucking make that. Yeah,
I
it'll
gotta
take
In
me
the
two.
DIY
It'll take
spirit.
it'll
I
take
gotta
me
tell
two
you,
weeks.
there's something
It'll be no plywood.
primal about playing 70s rock, having a couple of cold ones on the hood, and fixing your car yourself. There's something really absolutely
Oh man.
satisfying about doing that.
And
There
I
really
like that's what I like to do that's a little bit stupid is I put the earbuds in, I start listening to some of my favorite music, maybe country, maybe Grateful Dead. I got a few in me, and I start firing up
Mozart,
the.
Bach, Brahms.
Uh, yeah, no, not no, well, not no,
Grateful
not on the.
Dead. I'm just grateful that Jerry Garcia is dead.
Oh, whatever. That's lame. But just and then fire up the table saw and start making cuts, start cutting stuff. That's what when I do my best where I get real creative and I can like put stuff together real fast. I get a few in me and start. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, you're
Those are the
going to
best.
hell.
Those are
You're
good
going to
days.
hell in a bucket, baby. But at least you're enjoying the ride.
I am enjoying the ride. That's right. Thank
Right.
you.
That
Good
I
job.
get the irony of this that, and I'm not being immodest when I say the first part of this, but you'll understand when I say the second part. Out of all of us, I probably had if you want to call it the manliest career path, but I'm the one that likes doing some of this stuff that y'all are talking about the absolute least. I mean, I was in the infantry for 24 years, but I do not like getting out there and messing with the mechanical stuff and building shit. I'm like, no, I've done my time. Now I'm going to be, somebody that just likes to sit around and watch other people do that shit.
So you were a
That's
bouncer
okay.
at strip clubs and you were this private security for Alice in Chains. I'm just curious about how manly you want to get, brah.
I was throwing grenades into trenches full of Iraqi soldiers, so I mean, there was that.
Well, I mean, there's that, but I'm just saying I did that when I was like 22. So yeah, working in sawmills, working on farms, doing all that, and doing your
Jumping
great
out of
altitude thing.
helicopters. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Falling
about
out
a
of helicopters and breaking my back. That was fun.
We're having a dick measuring contest now between the medic and the infantry
It's
guy.
okay. Well, you
Oh
guys come
yeah,
over one. You guys come over one day. We'll
us
see how
combat
many.
medics are pussies. That's for sure.
I didn't say that, but there's a gradation here.
Well, the best I can do is you guys come over.
Saving lives is
We'll have a
important.
contest. We can have a contest where we just start drinking beers and see who can run the table saw. Who loses a finger first.
Oh, hey, real quick,
Be me. Won't be me.
Chris and Manny, y'all won't give a shit about this, but
It'd
Coop,
be
I don't know if
Manny.
you
It'd
heard.
be Manny. Manny would lose a finger first. I can just tell.
Manny would lose an
Right,
ear.
Manny? I mean, to be honest with you, Manny, no judge, but bro, I love you, bro. But you'd lose
I
your
can't tell
goddamn.
you
You'd lose
how
an
many
entire hand.
times. I can't tell you how many times I should have been hit by a car by now with so many close calls being run over. So
Right.
you're not
Can you
wrong.
hang? Can you hang drywall? Can you hang drywall? I'm just curious.
I have done home improvement work before. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't being facetious. I actually wasn't even trying to make that a joke. I'm just wondering if
Well,
you.
no, you're not far off the mark because I like Ace am cursed with how he's cursed with technology not working around him.
Yeah.
For me, it's just being eternally clumsy, even when I'm being the most like aware of my surroundings. So I somehow always end up hurting myself in one way or another. So
I'm
like
that way with spilling stuff on myself.
or that too. Or that too. So it's just like I always wear dark colors, so just to keep that like but
I would say I could spill something. I could spill something on me eating dry toast in the middle of a desert.
yeah, so you and I share
I
that
hear
sort of
that.
thing.
I hear that.
Hey,
Like
Coop, before I forget, I've actually meant to bring this up on our podcast. I don't know, Chris and Manny, y'all won't care about this, but I don't know if you've heard. They've actually you had an EFMB, didn't you? And a CF? Did you have an EFMB or a CFMB?
I've got both.
Okay. Did you? Because it comes back to me having an EIB and
What
a
are those?
CIB. What's that?
What are those?
He's got the combat field medical badge and the expert field medical badge.
The expert
Okay.
field medical badge is and Russ, I'm not don't take this the way it sounds, but it's the hardest badge to win in the entire United States Army. The fail rate is 94% on your first time through. It's a course that you go through to become like this expert field medic, combat medic, and you go through all these. They teach you and train you, and they take you through scenarios. I got the EIB too. I think Russ knows this because I was in the Cav. I got the EIB, but because of my branch when I became a captain, I can't wear it. Um, and you have some mulligans getting the expert infantryman's badge. You have some mulligans during it. The EFMB expert field medical badge, absolutely no mulligans. I saw a guy get failed because his finger slipped off when he was doing CPR just a little bit like that when he hit the head.
wow.
Got failed. You're gone. See ya. It's really so one of my proudest achievements in the army as far as non operational stuff is I earned my EFMB on the first try, and that's only 6% do that. And it's 2 weeks, and they torture you and they put you through all this bunch of stuff because there's a reason why 98% of all casualties survive on the battlefield now in the United States Army. We have the best medical
The
system.
medics.
Yeah, we have the best medical
Yeah.
system on the ground, and Russ can attest to that. I mean, I'm sure he had amazing combat medics embedded with
Doc
him.
Zedekiah. Doc
Yep.
Zedekiah was my company medic. Yep.
Yep.
But
I mean, and they'll do anything. And not only do they hump with you, they're there with you and all that stuff, but they provide medical support to you the entire time. So it takes no offense, Russ. No offense. I love me some infantry guys, and I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about soldiers. It takes a different type of soldier to be able to do the infantry shit and provide medical support along the way. It takes a little bit of an intellectual distance. And I am so fucking proud of those soldiers that I led. And yeah, the EFMB, that was a huge fucking deal for me, man. They tried to flush me out because I got one of my fingers almost severed doing the litter obstacle course. Oh my God, the hardest physical thing I've ever done in my life. And they're like, "Oh, you're done." I'm like, "No, just flush it out and tape it up. Fuck it. We got the 12-mile road march tomorrow. I can do that in a heartbeat." Um, Russ knows that I was the guy that did the Bataan Memorial Death March teams, which we would go with 50 pounds and run through the desert for a marathon for a competition and stuff like that. That was kind of my thing. I'm sure part of the reason why my left hip doesn't exist anymore,
because of that.
to be quite honest with you. But no, I appreciate Russ, and there's no disparaging the infantry. God knows I lived in the infantry and was part of the infantry, and I was originally the infantry. But I love me some fucking combat medics. I really do, and Russ does too. I know.
I mean, as a just
Go
to think about the character, like I don't know, I'm just the whole time you're talking, I'm thinking about Giovanni Ribisi's character in Saving Private Ryan. That scene, that was like one of the most devastating scenes, and
It was a devastating
for,
scene. Yeah,
I would say, for you got maybe not for civilians, it's like no, that movie changed my outlook on life, on humanity, and it's like, and that war. But
Did
like
you
The whole
guys?
fucking
Did you guys?
opening scene where they hit the
that's-
beach was
yeah, but there's a lot of that in that, but that scene in that movie with Ribisi and where
Yeah.
that was, and that they
Did
were
you guys?
pushing
Did
that
you guys watch
radio
the?
tower or something like that?
Did you guys watch the movie that I love dearly? Why I can't remember what it's
Sound of
called.
Music.
Yeah, those are my people. Do not talk about them like that. No, the Mel Gibson movie. Where
we were
We were soldiers.
no,
Oh.
where the Puritan went in the army, and it's played by the Spider-Man dude, and he's
Oh yeah, what was that?
Hacksaw Ridge.
Andrew
Hacksaw
Garfield
Ridge.
was the
Garfield.
actor. Yeah.
Hacksaw Ridge.
I've
Hacksaw
seen that.
Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me typifies what the combat medic's all about right there. Never
So-
quit. It's all about everybody else before yourself. All that. I'm very proud. I'm still to this very day. It gives me shivers to think that I was part of that community.
Okay, so the reason I brought this up initially,
I know I hijacked it. I apologize, buddy.
I've got both the CIB and the EIB. You get the CFMB and the EFMB. Just found out last week that the Army has authorized the golden wreath to go around the CFMB to indicate that you have both. They've been fighting about
that's
that.
interesting.
They've been fighting about that for decades because soldiers always wore the CIB because it was a higher badge of honor. But you didn't know if somebody had an EIB as well. But now you do, because instead of the silver or the black wreath on the uniform, now it's a gold wreath that shows, hey, this guy not only has a CIB, but this guy's also got an EIB. Or they do the same thing for the EFMB and the CFMB.
Yeah, I think that would be perfect. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah. Now technically you're supposed to go back and apply to get your orders amended for it, but I mean,
I can tell you getting the EIB was much easier than getting the EFMB.
It's designed that way to be fair.
It is.
Um,
It is. I'm not disparaging it. I'm just saying
Given-
it was just like
there's were there 30 stations at EIB, something like that. But you were allowed to
I honestly don't remember.
you were allowed to retest 2 of them. You failed out of the 3rd one, but that's why there was also a difference. If you remember, if you went through all 30 stations without a no-go, you were called the True Blue because that's how I got my EIB. Although, in fairness, I didn't get my EIB until the 2nd try, and the station that almost got me out, which is the station that got me out the first time, was the grenade toss. Because, man, in the grenade toss, you got 5 grenades. first you have to throw it within this radius of the silhouette, which is not hard. Then you got to throw it inside a bunker, which isn't hard. But then you got 3 grenades to try to throw it inside a foxhole from what 15 meters away. That's like a basketball hoop. I mean, you actually
Right.
have to get in this thing or you fail. And the time I earned my AIB, I had 3 grenades going in there. Threw the first one, it bounced over the hole. The second one went to the left, and my final one, I threw it, and I felt my wrist twist when I threw it, and
Yeah.
it went up, and it hit the ground, bounced, and did like this spiral thing, went into the hole, and that was how I passed that station. And then just like the EFMB, it ends with a 12-mile full pack road march where at the end, once you've done, you have to do the road march in 3 hours or less at 12 miles with full pack, and then you have to disassemble your weapon at the end, and then you get pinned on your EIB. And if you don't have a pussy for leadership, you get the blood EIB, which means they've got the pins on the back. They put it on there, and you somebody bangs it into your chest. And if you got somebody that really wants to do it, they bang it in and they smush it
Really
around
make
while
sure
you're.
it's in there.
I
Yeah.
still have
Hey, quick-
scars. I still have scars from my EFMB that one of my E5s, that was one of my when I was a lieutenant, that he pulled it out and pounded it. He was a stocky Mexican guy, Estrada. I'll never forget him. And we had a love-hate relationship. That day it was hate. He pulled that fucker out with those prongs and then went boom and moved it. I'm like, I am gonna so have my way with you on fucking Monday on fucking motor pool duty, motherfucker. Move out.
How
Okay.
much was it? How much did the packs weigh when you went on this 12-mile excursion?
What was it, 60? Was it 65 pounds?
I thought it was. Yeah, you might be right. You might
60,
be right.
something like that.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah,
in fairness,
so-
it wasn't as heavy as the one I carried into combat. The
No,
one I
not
carried
even
into
close.
combat was
Not even close.
115, 120 easy.
Yeah,
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have completely revamped our training plan. This was one of the ones that I took into combat because you're fully loaded with ammunition and everything you need to survive. I
Right.
mean, you walk about, I don't know, 25, 30 steps. You stop, you bend over, you cinch your pack up, you take a deep breath, and then you go another 25 or 30 steps.
yeah.
All right, I got a question for you guys. We'll maybe wrap up
Cool.
on this subject, but I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this for a while. It's kind of the demographics of the military. So like who joins the military? Who joins the military? Has it changed over the last, say, 50, 100 years? Like what percent? I'm curious about things like what percentage are like,
Poor
in
people?
college.
All of them. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, in college, I'd be like, you call it legacy. Like what percentage is like a son following their father? You know what I mean? So
High.
it's repeat business.
It's very high.
It is
yeah,
very
I'm
high.
curious about that.
The typical Army guy, the typical guy who signs up is usually small town or rural, strong family background, brought up in patriotism, who has had family members in the military. Now you'll find exceptions, obviously. But that's probably 60% of the force is legacy military from small rural towns, heavy emphasis on patriotism and family.
So more
That's
than
what you're going to
half,
find
okay.
signing up.
So it's like good, sturdy folks, but not a lot of economic opportunity.
No,
Is what
that's
I
not
what
true.
That's
not
actually
okay.
yeah, it's actually not true at all.
Well, when you say
my
you say
RTO
small town, so it's not like they can't go to the big city. It's not like they're not smart enough to go to college and do this, but it's more
yeah,
maybe they don't see the office buildings. They see something different.
the
Yeah.
RTO is a radio guy. He in the company. That's the guy who he was with me all the time to help me call in airstrikes and artillery and talk to the platoon leaders and everything. My RTO had a better education than I did. He already had a master's degree when he was with me. And
But it's got to be there's got to be a mix too, right? Because you got people that just go to the office in the strip mall and sign up, and
like I
whether they're done
said,
high, and then you got like the college guys coming through that
look at
they've got a different like kind of career strategy maybe.
but look at family background, emphasis on patriotism and family legacy. That's the best indicator of who will join up, regardless of education. And the military does not want stupid people. I remember we've had one of my one of the guys who I served with once was a recruiter, and he had to go back to the county courthouse several times because the judges would try to be like, "Hey, you either join the army or go to jail." And this dude had to go down to the judge and be like, "Look, the regulations say we can't do that. So stop sending them to us. We're not signing them up. You send this fucker to jail."
I'm sorry, but all the movies I saw in the '80s disagree with you there.
Yeah.
Like, a judge
So-
could send someone to the army. Okay,
Let me also say that when you look at demographics throughout the country, if you look at population percentage, 10% of the population in the United States of America is black. Much higher in the army than that.
Yeah, probably
Much
around
higher.
40%.
Probably around
Interesting.
40%. Russ, I'm
why?
sure
Why do you
did
think?
too,
Why do you think?
especially in the combat arms
Access to opportunity. I don't
that
know.
you and I came from. I had a shit ton of Puerto Rican sergeants. I had a shit ton of Hispanic in general, and of course, you get the Mexicans and the Puerto Rican
Samoan.
soldiers together, and it was fucking chaos because they hate each other.
The Samoans are big on it.
Samoans are big, and then in the officer ranks, a ton of Asians. Asians are 6% of the population. In the officer population, probably 10%. In my experience,
I
going
was gonna
through
say
the
about
army.
15, yeah.
Yeah. So you
My-
had a disproportionately number, which I love. I love that shit.
And
I love that shit.
I'd say
Go
part
ahead.
of it, I believe, is some of the, how do I phrase this properly? White urban college silver spoon kids look down on the military. They don't see it as viable, even though it is. I mean, how many presidents have we had that have served in the military? How many, folks got their start that way? So it's I say a
Yeah,
lot of them
I'm a
coming up.
fucking idiot. I'm a
I
fucking
think
idiot.
they see that like they probably see other ways to get
Enrich themselves.
I think they look down. I think they
notoriety
look down
or
on it. They've been raised
Yeah.
to kind of be like, well, that's a poor man's path, even though it's not. That's why I said family environment and family legacy is real big on a determining factor.
Yeah.
I think it's like, well, it's a patriotic thing, so they are not gonna like. I
No.
think there's a certain people that just don't like that's going to be a problem. Like this.
Most of my E7s, Russ, sergeant first classes, which is pretty high up there in the NCO realm, were black in my career. Most of my E7s were black. I'd say.
What do you think about? Why do you
55%.
think that is? If African Americans are like what 13% of the population, that they're
No,
3-4 times that in the military. Why do you think that is?
And me being the guy I am, because I'm so compassionate about this.
Opportunity.
No, I think Russ is right at the core. You had, I can remember maybe 2 or 3 guys was like, oh, I was a gangbanger and I wanted to get out of.
You actually don't get many thugs.
No, you don't. You don't get many of those guys. You get mainly guys that were like, okay, mom and dad made me go to church, and those kind of. And I'm talking specifically about the black soldiers and NCOs and stuff like that. Very principled, and I can tell you, having a big old buff black NCO that looked like Mike Tyson was really great as a commander. Because those are scary motherfuckers, and they're smart and they know the army, and I will tell you, to this very day, man, they know how to press a uniform and look fucking good. Their boots look good. I mean, they look good. Their hair was perfect. They were the standard, and I loved that. I fucking love that. Every time I'd go to a unit, and it's like the guy that reported to me was like, the only ones that I thought were more professional, Russ, were Guamanians. I had a ton of Guamanians that worked for me.
That's what I was thinking of was the Guamanians.
Yeah,
My sergeant major.
the dudes from Guam are the most patriotic, well-behaved, fucking studly soldiers I've ever had. I'm serious.
When I was
I'm serious
battalion
about
commander, the sergeant major I had as battalion commander was a Guamanian.
Oh God, I love Guamanians. I do.
Why
I
is
never,
that?
I've never even heard this term. I never heard this term before, but I guess they're from Guam. But I never even knew.
Yeah.
Figured.
Yeah.
Thought about
They-
what
they
they're
are-
from.
they are-
They all go into the American Army. They all go into the American Army.
Well,
I mean, and they have the University of Guam there. You're required to be in the Army Reserves to even go to the university there. I mean, it is. They are so grateful to the American Army from liberating them because they were tortured and raped and brutalized by the Japanese in World War II. That has
Right.
carried over to many generations. And I have tons of Guamanian friends, and they're fucking fantastic, and they can cook like a motherfucker. Uh,
You-
and they are really patriotic. I want to tell people that maybe you should look at this little bitty island that got invaded by the Japanese and subjugated and raped and tortured, and they are so loyal to this country. They're more loyal than these. And if we do, I hope we do a toxic masculinity podcast again, because I have a lot to say about white fucking bitches and that live in the world that men that look like me fucking built. Um, Not you, Russ, because you're from Oz. Nobody knows what species you are. Um,
I'm
but
Sheldonian.
but no, they're intensely patriotic people.
Yeah,
Intense.
you know
Yeah.
how how we've talked about if we admitted Puerto Rico as a state, it would be a blue state. Well, if you wanted to balance it out with another red state, you admit Guam. I mean that it's like deep red.
Like
That's interesting.
99%. Yeah. They
Probably
love America.
because of their history, I guess. Yeah, because of the painful history.
Yeah, I mean, we liberated that island, and well, we the Marines liberated that island. God bless the Marines and that fucking horrific shit that they had to go through in World War II. And the Guamanians to this very day, I had an NCO. He was an E7. He was an older gentleman. He hated me at first, Russ, which is what most NCOs do when I come over and I take over
That's what
stuff.
thinking as most people, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. But then they get to know me and they go, "Oh, wait, this guy's not only right, but he's good looking and intelligent and he's cool." And
Egg on my face.
and he was half Guamanian and half Japanese because his mother was raped by a Japanese. And because he was half Japanese on Guam, they threw rocks at him, they beat him up all the time and stuff like that. So he came to the mainland and joined the army to get away from that, because that's how much the Japanese were hated. It had nothing to do with him, the poor guy. Just like it's like me. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad, you don't like me because your wife moved away and cheated on you, and I'm much better looking than your kids. Go fuck yourself. But that's toxic masculinity at its best. But no, he was really interesting to talk to about how that worked. And it's like I can never be accepted on Guam because I'm half Japanese. And it's not my fault. And I'm just like, God, that made me sick. That made me hurt inside, because he was such a good NCO. Once we got to know each other, once we became friends, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I get you." Because I have I had this exact same, and Russ can tell you, I had this exact same personality as an army officer that I do on the podcast. I chop it up, I fuck around, I say shit that people don't like. I don't care
Did
because
I
I know
tell you all
right.
about the time that Coop cured me of caffeine?
I
So
think
it
so. Maybe,
No.
yeah, because I think, yeah, he told you to stop drinking caffeine. You fucked hard or something like
yeah,
that.
it was because I used to get. I told we were at an FTX teaching ROTC, and
I
second day
think
of
we
every
known
field
each other
club,
what, 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks or a
maybe
week or
2 weeks. I was getting this massive headache, which I always got the second day of every field problem. And Coop's like, "You drink a lot of soda?" I was like, "I don't know, 1 or 2 Mountain Dews a day." And I'll never forget. He goes, "Yeah, that's caffeine withdrawal, dumbass. Stop doing that." And I was like, "Okay." I
It
didn't know
was
what
out of
caffeine
That's
love.
withdrawal
interesting.
was.
It was out of love,
Well,
Russ.
I was thinking about that for literally months. I've been thinking, maybe a long time. I've been thinking about that, talking to you guys about this because I was curious because during the Biden years, maybe even longer,
Yeah, the
it
target
sure
demographic was
seemed
not well liked.
it sure seemed like they were trying to do some weird things and break the tradition of whoever normally joins the military. They were trying to change that and get
Yep.
new types of folks to join the
Yep.
military. And
Yep.
yeah,
Those groups aren't very large.
yeah, it's
They don't.
strange. And also, it wasn't because they wanted to fill the ranks with those because they're not that many of them. It was more because they wanted to like drive away the legacy guys, the guys that wanted to follow in their dad's footsteps and were just like, Screw that,"
Yeah.
because I don't want to. I
The
don't
the
want to.
the big reason I support Pete Hegseth, and I was dubious, and I think Russ and I were very clear about this, is about his.
Russ was very dubious. I thought you were on board pretty quick, but Russ was more dubious.
Russ was more dubious than me. I was on board because I kind of looked at that I have this ability to kind of look at
You have all the
things.
same tattoos.
I from a 20,000 foot perspective, where Russ doesn't have that ability intellectually to do that, and so I was able. Uh, all in good fun, my friend. But how he is focusing on the warrior, and he came out with the same standards in combat for women and men, and we've been crying about this for generations. There should be no separate standards. Why would there be separate standards? Maybe the men's standard is too high and the women's is too low, and you find something in between. I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't hard for me throughout my career to get a 300, which is perfect on the PT test as long as I stayed in shape. And if I slacked off and I drank too much beer and I wasn't hitting the gym every day, a little problem with the fucking run or the push-ups. But I never scored less than a 270. Never in my career. Never
Question.
happened. You know,
Aren't there?
On average, how many out of shape soldiers did you ever come across during your time in service?
About
Russ,
10%.
Mm.
I think that's fair.
And
when-
did they ever
when we're-
were they ever like chewed out because of it? It's just like, yo,
They
you're
were
making a
booted
mockery
out.
of-
If you can't pass the physical fitness test, you can be gone. And
No, not just chewed out. Not just chewed out. It becomes a paperwork thing.
yeah,
Mm.
you actually have to counsel, you have to put it in writing. And to be honest, I was much tougher. I had higher standards in my company than the army had, because the way I told my soldiers was those standards were for, the cooks and the finance clerks. We were in the infantry. We were warriors. Your standard was 90% or
Much
better on the physical fitness test.
100%.
Right,
When I was
right.
when I was in the Cav, I used my soldiers go, "Hey, sir, well, it's not fair that you expect a 300 out of us," which is perfect. And I'm like, you can't do 42 push-ups. Russ helped me out. What
42, 52, and 1554.
1554 on a 2 mile run. If you can't do that and you're in the combat of arms, this is what you do for a living. You're a warrior. Go fuck yourself. Go
Yeah.
fuck yourself. I have
I
no sympathy for you. I
I
do
used to-
expect you to go to gym in your free time. I do. And by the way, I was that commander that gave an hour and a half gym time to my soldiers 3 times a week, where you better be at the gym. If you
Yeah.
go home and drink beer, you're going to get an Article 15, but I'll give you an hour and a half gym time 3 times a week to keep you up to standards. If you think like your workload's too heavy, I will insist. Get out of your office, get out of the motor pool, go to the gym. It's gym time. I was
Yeah.
that commander, and it was remarkable how my numbers went whoop with
Yeah,
my
look,
soldiers.
when I say 270 of the PT test was 90%. The
Right.
Army standard for just passing is 60%. But I used to tell my soldiers, if you want to be a 60% soldier, then you don't belong in this company. Hey, let's hope that if you're wounded on the battlefield, 60% of what somebody knows is how to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 60% is you guys. I bet you both of you could come really close to doing 60% on an APFT. I really do. It's not that hard. You could train for a month and you'd be fine. Push-ups and well, I mean they changed it now. We're talking our antiquated version, Russ.
Not the new Army combat fitness test.
No, and
I'm up
they
to
need-
80 in my workout routine, so I'm doing okay.
yeah, you're doing good, Mo.
Doing fine.
Do you think you could run the 2 mile in under 15:30?
What do you mean 15:30?
15 minutes and 30 seconds.
2 miles?
2 miles.
2 miles.
Yeah, I just don't like to run. I just don't find.
No, but
I don't like
if
to-
you train for it, that'd be easy, right?
No, yeah, like my cardio is up there, and recently I'm down to 160, so I know I can. I just don't run.
As
be
big
fine.
as I've been since high school, I once did an APFT, the 2 mile in 10 minutes 6 seconds. That's
Mhm.
fucking crazy. That's
Yeah, my
cruising.
best. I'm not that. My best was 11 minutes and 39 seconds.
But that's fucking crazy. Think about that. 2 miles cruising at that speed.
And the one that I always brag about was at the infantry officer basic course. They make you do a 5 mile run because you have to do a 5 mile run at Ranger School. You have to do the 5 mile run in 40 minutes at Ranger School, which is kind of misleading because at Ranger School, what they make you do is you do the first 3 miles in about 18 minutes, and then you do the last two in the last like 20 or 22 minutes. But the what I always brag on it was that the officer basic course running the 5 mile course in 30 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's
Um,
badass. That's
that was one
actually
of my-
fucking.
That's one of the things I brag about. I'll never be in that good of
Yeah, that's
shape again.
badass.
But at that point, yeah, I could run like a gazelle.
Yeah, that's badass. That's some badass time right there. Yeah, no
That is
shit.
good.
So my Russ talks about the 12 mile ruck march that we did to qualify for schools and stuff with the 55. Was it 55 pounds,
About
Russ?
60, 55 or 60 or 60, something like
Yeah,
somewhere
whatever.
around
So
60.
you got 3 hours to navigate that. When I went through my EFMB, I did it under 2 hours.
Yeah, I did mine for the EIB in 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah, and I tore the shit out of my fucking calves and ankles, and I was bleeding and all that stuff
I just
because
had quarter-sized blisters on my feet.
and I guess the general was pissed because just before I came across the line, I lit a cigar. I did that. I did that. My battalion commander fucking worshipped the ground I walked on as I did that. And I was the only one in camo face paint because I was the Great Gary Owen, the 7th Cavalry, the Mel Gibson movie, We Were Soldiers. I was in that unit. And so we had a long history. And so the battalion commander, he was nuts, but he was good. He's like, you don't cross the cattle guard without fucking face paint, Gary Owen. The cattle guards in Texas, you know the deal, Chris,
Yep.
about cattle
Mhm.
guards in Texas. You don't cross the cattle guard, which means you're going out to the field without face paint, which was kind of dumb. So
But
I'm the only
it's
one.
like
I'm the only one in the 200 people that survived out of 2,000 that has face paint on and is smoking a cigar as I run across the fucking.
every
I
time we
have
went
that.
to the,
I have that photo. I will have to scan that and send
yeah,
that to you guys
I
because
want to
you'll
see
laugh
that.
your ass off.
I'm thinking about Heartbreak. We got a big Heartbreak Ridge too, with you as the star.
Hey,
For real,
look,
dude.
look, you never
Well,
go out to
I'm
you never go
shaving
out to the
this off
training
soon
area.
since it's spring, so I could do it. I could
You
do it.
never go to the training area without face paint on, even if it feels silly. You're putting your war paint on. That's what it
That's right.
is.
Yeah, you click. You
Mm.
click. You shift consciousness. Okay, we're here in Garrison, we're doing all this shit, but now we're going out to the field. Put your war paint on. Boom. We're soldiers again.
And then
We're
when you
not
come
maintaining
in,
vehicles, we're not doing any of that shit.
yeah, and when you
We're not
come
going
in,
to
you take the baby
classes.
wipes. When you come in, you take the baby wipes and get the camo paint off, and it's like, all right, now I'm transitioning from the field back to Garrison. It's almost ritualistic.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
is.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, interesting. It sounds like no, not like it, but just very in a very small way, just like it's like a locker room kind of thing, like a sports thing, just a
Sure.
team
Sure.
where it's just
Oh,
like, yeah,
absolutely.
it is hard. But it's guys figure out a way to make it fun and
100%.
fuck
100%.
fuck with each
And
other,
we loved it.
and all
We
that stuff.
fucking
So
loved it.
I've
We
had three
fucking loved it.
reunions with the company that I commanded, and it's we get together. It's just like we were together yesterday.
yeah,
Nice.
that's cool. That's nice.
It's
Nice.
kind of like when Manny goes out to a gay club and then he puts his glitter on and then he puts that weird sparkly hat on.
And the pink
Yeah.
And it's
jumpsuit.
like, and he comes
I
around
just
the
get
corner. He's like, "Is
lost.
that Coop? Is that you?"
It's like I did not expect to see you here tonight.
Like, no, no, I got lost. This damn GPS.
I swear this is just reconnaissance. I swear.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about that for a while because I feel like there was some weird. I was kind of curious, because I was like, well, you have to kind of understand what the normal was, like who was joining to understand, like, why were they trying to F with that? Why were they trying to get
No,
different people to join?
yeah,
Why were they changing the
don't.
whole marketing? Why were they, yeah, like, I think they were trying to
Well,
discourage people from that. Like, they were like, the guy that wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps, they were like, sow some doubt, like make it to where the guy is like, oh, wait, maybe I'll just go to
Well,
college,
I do think that was part of it.
Yeah.
An agenda.
I think that's
I
fair.
mean, you got like myself, like, my son talks about it sometimes, and I would not have a problem with that's the career he wanted to go down. It's probably hard nowadays for some of these kids in these communities because they are very coddled and it's like they have a lot of opportunities. So they're not seeing, they don't, I don't know. I don't know that they would gravitate towards being yelled at or, I don't know,
Well,
but
it's not like you see in Full Metal Jacket, especially not anymore. They were dealing with draftees.
it was more
Um,
like, I was trying to say more like like as a dad, I might not, I might just change the subject because I don't want my son joining the military and taking orders from Barack Obama or Joe Biden, the committee of assholes that's running the country while Joe Biden's pissing himself in his bed, and eating blended food because he's so old.
well,
Like,
Chris,
I don't like that's a little bit that's concerning. I don't want like Lloyd Austin who goes out for freaking prostate surgery and doesn't even tell the president of the United States that he's going to be out of commission for a week.
yeah.
Like, these are not people I want my son taking any kind of orders from. So, but maybe
I mean, imagine if Kamala had gotten in there, that would have done to the recruiting numbers.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that's depressing.
but
They
at the
had an
same,
agenda there. They were really trying to They're trying to weaken us.
Yeah, let me tell you, if your son does ever happen to say, become serious about it, let me talk to him. Let me talk to him first before he goes to see a recruiter.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I would for sure.
Because I mean, they're before you sign the dotted line, you have all the power, and he needs to understand what to do with that power. Because once you sign the dotted line, until there's a lot of stuff that the recruiters try to get with you on because they have their own quotas to fill in certain MOSs. So
Oh yeah.
if that ever happens, let me talk to him first.
Yeah, my nephew was accepted to West Point. Really
Awesome.
proud
That's
of him.
hard. That's
He
Yeah,
hard.
for
decided,
real, dude.
and
Congrats to your nephew.
He turned it down.
Never mind.
Really?
He wants to be a doctor. He's a special kid. They all are. But
Holy
like
shit!
he wants
Your
he
nephew,
wants
your
to be
nephew
a
and I are the same guy, by the way.
he wants to be a
I did
doctor, but
exactly the same thing.
he felt like UT just doing normal UT stuff would be better for him being a doctor than doing the military path for that. So
I got accepted to West Point and Annapolis out of high school. I went to a small high school, so you guys would have hated me. I was Joe High School. I was captain of all the sports. I was ASB president, valedictorian, la 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 la.
You're that
So
guy we all hated. Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah, you're right. And I was really good looking, and girls liked me, so you would have really hated me, Russ. Um, but I got accepted to West Point. I got accepted to Annapolis. I wanted to be a Marine officer at first, but then I got to hang out with the Marines. I realized they're not very bright. It's just
And
that's
they're
not
kind of
going to be my
crazy.
thing. And but I wanted to be an Army officer, but then I fell in love. So
the
that's why
Marines were like, "You fit right in, Russ.
I
You're
didn't
just
go.
crazy enough."
I didn't go to West Point because I fell in love. That's so fucking tragic.
Don't do that.
But I'm okay that I didn't
Happens.
go to West Point. It's fine. I got a fantastic education and got my school paid for and by all that stuff. So that's interesting though. And then I was pre-med and I went to medical school for 2 years,
I
which
wonder
is
what it was. I wonder what it was. He's a real smart kid. My
yeah,
sister and her
that's very
husband are
interesting.
real smart. So they, I
Sounds like
don't know
we
if that was part of it.
followed similar paths. No,
I
it's
guess he
hard to get
figured
into a
out that
service academy. It's incredibly hard to get into a service academy. So, but I dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and I looked awesome on paper. The one thing that people didn't realize is I did all these things, but I did it in a school of 200 people.
Yeah,
So it was much
there were
easier for me.
2,400 in my high school.
Yeah, so it was a little easier for me to be the captain of all the sports teams and the ASB president and la 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 la. But no, I don't regret the journey. That was cool. I was one of two people ever in my high school history that got accepted to West Point, so that was kind of exciting for folks. And then I got accepted to
Bragging
medical
rights.
school, which had never happened out of my high school. And then when I dropped out of medical school after my second year, the entire town and my parents and everybody else tried to disown me. True story. True story.
like, yeah, you were supposed to write us prescriptions. What the
That's
fuck,
right.
man?
Yeah, I'd be so much better off doing that. I just want to say before we get off, Chris, I know you guys need to get off. I just have a couple of real quick things to wrap up. Number one, thank you folks for talking to me about looking like Santa Claus and worrying about my skin color. I'm still
what we do
doing
best.
I'm still
What we're
doing
here for.
chemotherapy for skin cancer, so it makes my skin a little flushed, so it's okay. And number two, I just want everybody out there to know that see my hair? Manny, what do you think about my haircut? I think it looks pretty good. What do you think? Not bad.
You
Hair plugs
know,
are going good.
coming along.
My barber is gay and a midget.
She does.
Dang, dude.
That's a Ray
So it's a
Stevens
dude.
song.
It's a dude. Does he have a stool or something like that? Like what?
Yeah,
Do you
he-
get
no,
down,
he has-
you get down,
he has
or
a-
do you get down in a pit?
He
Or is it
literally has a
suspended
milk crate
in
that he
air?
drags around me when he's cutting my hair, and he jumps up on the milk crate to cut my hair. And I found out last haircut that he is gay as fuck. And so anybody you out there that thinks I'm a hater, I have a phobia about midgets, as Russ famously knows. I've parked it in the back of my head because I think he's a good barber, and then him telling me stories about being at like these dwarf communities and talking about how he's gay and stuff were cracking me the fuck up. I gotta admit,
But
it was
so he does well for himself in that sense, then, right?
yeah. I mean, well, this is a high end men's, one of those barber
It's a
shops.
pretty boy
that you-
salon.
Yeah, pretty boy salon. So you spend $65 on a 30-minute haircut there.
Hey,
Not
real quick,
bad.
Coop, you struck something real quick. You know the comedian Brad Williams? He's been on
Of
Troll.
course. Yeah, I love
Oh,
Brad
yeah.
Williams.
Okay, yeah. You should hear the story of him going to meet John Stamos. Because Bob Saget was like, "Hey, you want to come meet John Stamos?" He's like, "Oh, Uncle Jesse, yeah." But John Stamos has that hypochondrophobia, whatever it is, the fear of little people.
Yeah, I do too.
So,
I do too.
so yeah, Bob Saget's got like he's sitting with John Stamos. John Stamos got his back to the door, and Brad Williams comes in and just, "Hey, hey John Stamos, how you doing?" And Stamos like freaked out, and Bob Saget was like on the floor laughing his ass off with this. You got to
What
hear
do
the
you-
story.
What do you think they're gonna do to you, Coop? Like, what do you think?
Oh.
Well, according to
What do
Brad
you
Williams,
think-
he grabs a leg and starts humping.
What do you think Tyrion Lannister's gonna do to you?
I know it's like the sausage fingers are the worst part. And the way their joints are weird,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't think they're human. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't hate them. I don't want to kill them, but they frighten the fuck out of me because I think they might be alien hybrids. I really do.
Like
And
the
You're
like
actually the
alt-
alien
like
hybrid. That's the
the
that's the twist.
Nephilim, like the opposite of the
no,
Nephilim.
like
No, he's
the
tall
bad
whites. He belongs to
alien,
the tall whites.
the bad
the
alien gay
tribal
midget alien
Greys.
race that got in there and fucked things up for us. I don't know, man. You guys, I know I've said it on a prior podcast, but that time they took me out for my birthday for lunch at Hooters, and Russ didn't make it for some reason. I don't know. I guess you didn't get invited because nobody really liked you,
Well,
Russ.
like me.
But no, I don't know why you didn't get. I don't think you were there that day, to be quite honest with you. So a bunch of NCOs, and a captain that worked for me, they took me to Hooters for my birthday because in Sacramento, the Sacramento Hooters. If you showed up in uniform, they give you 50% off of your lunch. And so I'm like, okay, cheapskate bastards, thanks. But it's nice for you to take me out. But they set it up. And I heard this voice coming from behind me. It's like, "Sir, did you order the fries?" And I look,
Oh,
and
no.
it's a fucking midget Hooters chick. She's literally like, I'm 6'3", and she doesn't come up to my fucking waist. And and I go, fuck. Just like that. I'm not proud of that moment. I'm not saying I was right, but she looked at me and she slammed the fries down and walked off. And all these
I didn't even know there was a thing of the fear of the midgets. I didn't even
oh
know
my
this
god!
was like a
And
real
Russ
thing.
Russ knows the NCOs I'm talking about. You remember fighting Joe Torres
Yeah.
and the Mexican dude and the guy that I actually got into a real fight with at one of our UFC fucking weekends and that John weirdo dude from National Guard and Jason Hioka. You remember him, of
Yeah, he's
course.
the one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he instigated the whole thing, and I'm just like,
I
and
can see him laughing.
I'm looking at them, and they're fucking dying. And I'm like, I'm pissed. I'm actually, this is a great prank, but I'm kind of pissed off because I unintentionally hurt this human being's feelings badly.
Did you at
And,
least make up with a decent tip?
Well, yes. But then they started cracking the jokes. Then it's like, oh, I thought she was hot, sir. I would get her a step stool onto my couch so I could make out with her. That'd be so fucking hot. I'd be and you just joke after joke after. I'm just like, I'm gonna make life miserable for all of you for the next fucking millennia. And I did in different ways. I actually got that recruiter from the Army National Guard fired, Russ, by the way. I don't know if you know that story, but I got him fired.
Oh, really?
I did. Not over that. He just sucked. But yeah, but it was funny.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
know
you
who you're
do.
talking about.
He
There.
thought he was all that in a bag of chips. But the best prank maybe in history that I've ever been pranked on. Taking me to Hooters for my birthday, lunch, la la la, and then I freak out at the midget waitress.
And
I'm
on
not-
that note,
I'm not proud
Yeah,
of
I
it.
So much tonight
I think Hooters
is gone.
like getting some standards. They're putting some standards in place to like.
Yeah, it's
get
going to
rid
be a
of the midgets.
family place now.
Oh no. Well,
Yeah,
there's
that's not
Twin
gonna
Peaks
work.
there.
They should just
Yeah, Hooters
call it quits already. Go off into the sunset.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it sure has been great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
It's been a little while, but yeah, it's good to talk.
I
to
think
you
that
guys.
was I think that was a good toxic masculinity talk. I think we kept it kind
It
of
felt
on.
like it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was a breeze. It was a good time. So many.
The next time we do a toxic masculinity, I have a really big issue I want to bring up with you guys, and I want to hear your philosophy on it. I do.
All right.
All right.
We
Yeah,
appreciate the
all right.
cliffhanger.
I've
Sounds good,
got it
man.
locked and loaded and ready to go downrange, bruh.
Sounds good.
All right,
Well,
Cole,
Russ, you gotta get some sleep, man.
I do it. Requires my beauty rest to stay this pretty.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you guys. We'll wrap it up here. We we
Yeah.
always say, do what you want. Do
Get
what
it
you want
on.
and get it on.
Love you guys.
Later.
Peace
Two
out,
grumpy,
y'all.
Always a
grumpy
pleasure.
bastards. Two grumpy bastards. Read it
Make sure to
behind
listen.
Coop. Yep, you can't see it because it's huge head, but two grumpy bastards is what it says. Is the
I love
podcast.
it.
These guys are great. Listen to them, subscribe, all that. Do what you want. Get it on. See you guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Have a great weekend.